This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Clock Shop Talk, where we talk about union stuff off the clock. We got a couple returning guests and a new one. I'd like to welcome John Green over there from, it's your right to your left? John Green over there, president of Local 952. Eric Jimenez, Secretary Treasurer of Local 952. Keith Barton, Trustee for Local 952. Just wanted to jump on real quick and give you guys an update. Let you know that we are back from summer, going dark, as we like to call it. Every local does it. They go dark for the summer. Allow the staff, Eric, John, all of us to go on vacation because we're freaking busy and we don't really have time to do that during the normal year. At least have a weekend off. It's nice. But welcome, guys.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back.
Thank you for my first time.
Yeah, it sounded kind of weird, but
yeah. He's a virgin.
No.
Camera virgin right here.
Technically, we're popping your cherry.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, no.
But welcome, guys. Like I said, we wanted to jump on real quick. I don't know if you want to start off, Eric. Just let us know, give us update, what's going on, what's been happening while we were dark.
Yeah. So, like John said, we're back from being dark. Every local votes usually to go dark for the summer months. And it's just not for the local and the staff. It's, most of our members take most of their vacation during the summer months, go out of town, go out of the country with their families. So
if you have seniority.
Yeah, if you have seniority, you get those summer months off. So we usually tend to go dark. But as you all know, the business of the union doesn't stop running. The machine doesn't stop.
Definitely
we
not.
don't press an off button and all of a sudden we get to take 3 months off. Things are still moving forward, contracts, representation. So, it was good to see everybody back today at our local meeting, our membership
packed
meeting.
House.
Packed house, 200 plus, you know what I mean? We had a great Stewart meeting that started at 9, and then we had our general membership meeting that started at 10 o'clock. Just a really, really good turnout, a lot of participation. As you know, CVS is on strike. The stores are on strike. UFCW, a union who represents the stores, is actually striking stores sporadically throughout Orange County and Los Angeles County. Us representing the distribution warehouse, about 1,100 members have promised to honor their picket lines. Awesome. We had meetings with the UFCW about a week and a half ago, myself, John, and the joint council, and we all agreed that we would support those UFCW members in their strike for better wages, better health care. And it makes sense because we come into CVS negotiations where, Keith Barton is, our trustee Keith is actually from, and they're going to have a fight, you know what I mean? We feel that the Teamsters fight for every little nook and cranny that we can possibly get. Sure. But again, their fight is our fight, and next year our fight will be their fight if we end up walking off the job. But again, like I said, for the most part, business as usual again, rolling out. Roll out. Make sure you guys attend the November general membership meeting. Make sure you RSVP for our Christmas general membership meeting. And then next year, we'll come into the normal year. But again, it's good to be back. It's good to be, see our members still participating at record levels. Local 952, a powerhouse. You know what I mean?
That's right. And I will say I've been a Local 952 member for 20 plus years. And definitely a powerhouse at this point. From where we were night and day, and we always give you props on the show. We do, both of you guys, and the e-board. You guys are all part of a team that has just fucking killed it, for lack of a better term. But I wanted to touch on something that you had touched on. So how does I know we've had a lot of questions. How does the UFCW strike for the stores impact our members here in 952, considering we cover the distribution?
And it's that mentality of all for one and one for all. How does it specifically impact us as they're striking? The stores that they are striking right now, if our drivers deliver to them, then we're not going to cross those picket lines. You're not going to get the goods getting put on the shelf. And that's solidarity. That is unity. That is togetherness. If they don't work, we don't work. They haven't put up any picket lines in front of the distribution warehouse, and we're yet to see if that's going to come. But I will tell you right now, there are talks with the Teamsters and the UFCW about what the potential threat of a strike at the warehouse would be and how it would help them out. But again, we're nowhere near that. They're just picketing the stores, and not all stores, just some. But, the bigger picture for CVS being on strike is, you have another union who has members that are asking for health care, better pay, better rights, a better contract, and they're getting stonewalled by the company. They're being told they're not going to get what they're asking for. That kind of leads a precursor to what may happen to us here in Local 952. Now, again, we do have 1,100 members, drivers and warehouse, so we do have the ability to shut down, at least Southern California into Nevada down.
Good portion.
But it is, what you got to kind of really look at what they're doing to the UFCW. If they're holding out for UFCW and holding out with what they're, what the UFCW is asking for, we have to, John, myself, Keith, and our team needs to look at that and say, well, is this what's to come in 3 months, 4 months when we start bargaining with them? And I think, if it is going to be that way, then CVS is going to have a hell of a fight on their hands.
And I mean, it's not like CVS is hurting for profits. I think constantly these people are top of the list for companies. I mean, they are constantly making record profits. The money that they make within the pharmaceutical industry is just phenomenal.
And I think John could probably answer this. I mean, we always kind of use UPS as, the model of what a Teamster contract is, and it's the best Teamster contract out there. It's probably one of the best labor contracts out there. Believe it or not, people would die to have our contract, even though some people don't think $45 an hour is enough. But either way, I guess what I would kind of get to in terms of, where we're at, and I lost my train of thought.
So I mean, CVS,
I just wanted John to talk.
Yeah, he just wanted me to open my mouth. I'm sitting here listening to him all this time. But and by the way, the summer break didn't do much for my vacation schedule.
Me either.
That's clear.
I just threw it out there.
But ultimately, like you asked about how it's affecting our drivers now, UFCW is starting small, and I talked to a couple of my stewards this morning before the meeting, and I think there was one driver that had one of those stores as a stop, and of course he went somewhere else, called in and said, "You want to do," and they're bringing it back. At this point right now, knowing which stores they are, they're taking those loads off of the trucks before the truck even goes out.
Okay, so they're not even sending loads
out. Aren't even really going to those stores at this point. And we talked. I'm not sure how they're going to expand. I know Eric and I are in communication with them. But as they expand, we have to expand ours. But like you said, they're a top 10 Fortune 500 company, right? And what they're offering the UFCW is complete crap as far as wages, health, and welfare, and how that goes. But also, what needs to be understood, to where we don't know where we're going into the bargaining, is CVS has just almost completely flipped over their management. Including, I saw an article yesterday, they even replaced the CEO.
Oh, really?
Karen Lynch, I believe, right?
And,
she was replaced, and it was announced yesterday. So they're going through a lot of changes. I know the labor relations that I deal with is recently just completely flipped over. And when that happens, you don't know what to expect until you go through a few meetings, have a few conversations, because ultimately you got to feel out and figure out where we're going to go. But like Eric said, as far as supporting the UFCW and knowing that we're going to be in negotiations early next year for our warehouse and our drivers and our maintenance, our leverage is a little different because you got to remember that not every standalone store is unionized. Out there. So leverage wise to do it, I mean, with us we have a little different situation because if we shut our drivers and distribution down.
Affects the whole.
It's going to affect the non-union stores also, right? So that's where it goes. But, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight either way. Wages definitely, especially in the warehouse, are really low to where the market is. And CVS doesn't have an excuse for that.
Yeah.
They're a profitable company. They're claiming, I think they're talking about splitting that off and doing, splitting them off in the market to do a strike, two different ticker symbols to separate the companies on the market. That being said, the profits for drugs is high.
Yeah, definitely.
A shitload of profits and they need to take care of the people that make their business run.
And my train of thought came back. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
I think what I was trying to say, and John, what John could probably explain a little bit better is, I was talking about the UPS contract and how much money they make. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, CVS makes a hell of a lot more money.
No, I believe so.
UPS.
They really do.
Yeah. So, if we can get
profit
what we
dollar
get,
for dollar, I think
dollar for dollar. So if we can get, what we got for our UPSers, CVS shouldn't have a problem opening their purse and saying we're one of the most profitable companies, in this country, and our warehouse workers like, Keith Barton over here, our drivers like Bill McIlvain, who's been there 30 plus years, they deserve a piece of the pie. You know what I mean? We all know, pharma is a massive industry. They make, massive profits. Pills made for $1 and they're sold for freaking hundreds of dollars. You know what I mean?
For $1, they make those shits for 25 cents and fucking sell them for hundreds of dollars.
So it is, but again, to the UFCW, they're on strike. It's one of many strikes that we've seen over the last, year and a half, 2 years. The labor movement is really started boasting its chest out there. We just saw the ports go on strike. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've seen the UAW go on strike. We've had our own strikes here at Local 952. UPS was on the verge of a strike. We were, days before walking off the job and shutting down the country. I don't see it being any different next year when we come into CVS, Albertsons, Heritage, the OCTA mechanics. Labor never stops. Like I said this morning on the Teamster clock never stops. You know what I mean? And although sometimes we want the hands to go a little slower around the clock, it never stops, and we're constantly working. But hey, nothing.
And just kind of to touch base on what you were talking about. So in 2025, we have some major contracts coming up that are due. Right? We have CVS, Albertsons, and OCTA mechanics. Right? There's a lot of stuff coming up in 2025. Do you want to touch on any of those just real quick?
Other than those are the contracts coming up, we'll start doing our proposal meetings well in advance. We'll start getting the membership active and geared up to get in a fight. But they're there. It's going to happen. I think what the real message is, we have the opportunity to probably get one of the best contracts in CVS, get one of the best contracts in Albertsons. Right now, labor is in just a position we have the leverage to get great contracts, you know what I mean? Unless something crazy happens, like I'm talking, we have another, 2008 where the economy takes a massive crash or something. I don't foresee that happening, you know what I mean? We're in the driver's seat, and we need position. We are. I think the bigger message is to our members is, look out for what's in front of you, you know what I mean? And, the company's going to start spreading rumors about things that are happening. They're going to start crying poverty. They're going to start crying that they don't make enough money.
Like they always do.
You're going to have some of our, the managers walking around saying, hey, I'm losing my job. What makes you think you guys can get a good contract? You're going to have some of our own members probably out there saying, we're going to, as it is, we already have people out there saying, to vote that the CVS contract's going to be horrible, and we haven't even started bargaining for it, you know what I mean? But at that end, it's like, really our members have to understand that, our job, my job, John's job, Keith's job is to get you the best contract you possibly can. And the best way of doing that is all of us sticking together, all of us paddling the boat the same way. And that's how you get a great contract, you know what I mean? And if you're planning on, going the opposite way, well, you always have those naysayers, but again, we got some big contracts coming up, and there's nothing more important than staying united and solid with each other, And
that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit as far as, when you start getting into contract season, right? And it starts rolling around. People start getting anxious and, hey, what's going on? What's this? What's that? And one of the things we dealt with a lot, within the UPS contract was, people saying there's a brownout, no information being given. And I will say that at this point, you guys have a track record. We've negotiated some great contracts. John, you fucking killed it in some contracts. Eric was involved in the UPS contract negotiations, at all the levels. And I would say something you said earlier in regard to something else, but there's a method to the madness.
Yeah.
We don't want to give everyone our plays. We're not trying to do all that. I would say trust your local union when you're in a contract negotiation. Those are the people that you guys voted to get in there. Even if you didn't vote them in, you don't want to hope that somebody fails, because at the end of the day, that's the membership. That's your wages. That's your benefits that they're negotiating. So I would say there's a method to the madness. Trust. We will, I know 952 especially, we will be doing proposal meetings. We'll be doing update meetings, all those stuff. So they will come. Just don't, hold your horses a little bit. I don't know how to say it better. Just
and John's bargaining. He can get into it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was in the UPS contract negotiations. Those are a really big spectrum. I mean, you have hundreds of people coming from around the country to do that. But I mean, I think what you just said is really what is the first step of getting a good contract. You need to trust your local union. I mean, I'll tell you right now, there's nothing that me and John take more seriously than the livelihoods of our members. And again, the fact that some may want us to fail, well, you make me fail, I'm only failing you. Yeah. That's what you're doing. You need to help me help you.
Help me help you.
But I mean, trust, the fact that, they want to call it a brownout, or they're keeping information from us. We've all seen what happens when you give some information to some of our members out there. They run to management and they tell management.
Or they post it on Facebook and management sees it anyways.
And they'll tell management all about it. You know what I mean? They love helping management out for some reason. But I mean, really, it's trust. We're here. Yeah. And we're here to get you the great contract. Keith's here. He'll be in the negotiations as a shop steward. I mean, it's like, man, we have your leadership that you voted in. You trusted us. Keep trusting us. You have stewards sitting on your committee. Those are your stewards, the people that work. Why would Keith sell himself short?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, why would he sell himself short? You know what I mean? If you get sold short, he's going to get sold short. Yeah. That's transparency. We have our stewards that go out there and say, hey, guys. But even then, you're going to have people, well, those people are those people's friends. I mean, you got to get over that. At some point, you have to stop. You have to take a breath. And you have to say, dude, am I going to just constantly be the naysayer? Am I constantly going to be the Monday afternoon quarterback that says would have, could have, should have, did this? Are you going to sit back and say, hey, man, I completely support you, John. I completely support you, John. I completely support you, Keith. I completely support Local 952, because me supporting you is going to help me get a great contract.
Yeah.
And all I ask is, dude, do me right and be honest with me. And if you don't, then I'll think about what we should do next. But if you start off on day one saying, John's going into negotiations, he's already lying to us, and you're like, dude, I haven't even sat at the table yet. Oh, you're a liar. You know,
Yeah.
you just, we can't do that. You know what I mean?
And to your point a little bit, John, is we've done quite a few contracts now at this point. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're right. When it's not a bad thing to see, or ultimately is because I think part of it is like CVS. Hey, we want to start negotiations early. We want to do this now. Part of that is a good thing because ultimately they're excited. And I think part of it is because they see some of these other contracts. We just finished 2 first students. One of them got ratified 100%. Biggest raises they've ever seen. There's a process that we go through that has been completely successful. And you got to keep in mind what a contract is. When you get to a tentative agreement, it's basically your point of leverage at the time of settlement, right? And that, no matter what time you start negotiations, your biggest point of leverage is the day that contract expires, right? Yeah. Now, Eric and I, we've dealt with contracts like, for instance, the Stremix Heritage Food contract. The last time we stepped into the middle of it, kind of, and took it over to finish it, was 18 months past the
expiration.
Past the expiration,
Correct.
And we had to go in, and we've had to deal with that with a lot of contracts, because at one point in time, that's kind of how this local was bargaining that.
Yeah.
we don't want it to delay. We're not, we're trying to get contracts done right at the expiration.
I know some people like the retro checks, but that's
because you got to remember when you get to it, you can start 2-3 months early. Now, maybe you've got an employer that's like, okay, cool, we'll start early, we'll finish this, we'll give you what you want, and we'll get it done. But I'm going to tell you right now, 99.9% of the time, that's not the case. Yeah. The person that's bargaining on the other side of that table, their job is to get the least.
Of course.
Pay out the least amount so we can keep our bonuses, right? So ultimately, you don't want to put them in a position to where you're getting done early to where they still have the leverage knowing you can't strike them. Because every contract's the same. You have language that says you can't strike until this thing expires. So ultimately, that's what I mean by that's your highest point of leverage in any negotiations is the day that thing expires. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to strike every single contract on day one after the expiration date, because there's a lot of things you got to consider. And if the company is moving, why go on strike if it looks like you're going to get the deal that you want to get? But ultimately, it's good because people are involved, they're excited, and they're anticipating. And, look, if I see UPS get that deal and I'm working at grocery, God bless America, I'd like to get that thing early too.
I get it.
You know what I mean? But ultimately, you got to understand there's a process you go through. There's a process that gives us our biggest point of leverage.
Yeah.
And as long as we follow that, things are going to be fine. Like Eric said, barring a complete Great Depression, something coming down the pipe right now, we're in the best position we've been in probably the history of the country to get the contracts we're getting. And you see it all across the country, right? So.
And I know we talk about, the big contracts. We always talk about that. And we have a lot of big, employers that we deal with, right? We have CVS, we have Albertsons, we have UPS, OCTA. But, we also have small employees or small employers. And we don't really, talk about them a lot. But I know you've been dealing with a couple of the new, newly organized groups that we have. You want to touch on the base with those two contracts?
Yeah, so Frank and I and Miguel, Eric's been in and out of some of the negotiations with the two new Vinlux, Hillebrand. There's separate groups you're bargaining with. Vinlux is going a little slower because they basically hired an attorney from a huge union-busting law firm to negotiate the contract. So they're a little more contentious. People lose their tempers a little bit. I mean, Frank can throw.
Frank is Frank.
Table every once in a while, right? But
welcome to the Frank
be
show.
honest with you, Hillebrand's going very well. Yeah. I mean, we're literally now. I don't know how many sessions we've had. It's because I'm literally going from one negotiation. Sometimes I'm doing them both on the same day, walking from door to door. But Hillebrand is. We're about 3 non-economic TAs away from going into economics. Yeah. Which is great. It's. And we've got some pretty good stuff in there. First contract, you're not bad. You're not going to knock it out of the park as far as language goes, but just the fact to get that first contract, get the deal, get these guys what they're worth, it's huge. And props to the stewards that are in there in negotiations. I know being non-union before, they're looking across the table, and we go to break, and he's be like, how in the hell do you guys do this stuff? You know what I mean? And but it's good. It's they get to see it. They get to see it. They're like, yeah, you guys could really tell them that? They're like, yeah, no, we can. So, but it's good. I think, I'm hopefully within, a month or two, we get that Hillebrand one knocked out and done and ratified. And, it's great. And like, other we did FXI. We got 2 of the 3 first students done. Sam and I are still working on the last one. The first students are, I think we've done now with them, that's one of the ones we've redone, right? Remember last time I was here and I was like, yeah, we're flipping the record and doing them all again. That being said, with the first student group, all 3 contracts, from their wages, the time we took over to now, I think they're pretty close to 46, 48% in increases in wages. And huge. And they just had a mid-contract raise, and then we closed out the raises and got them another $3, and I think $3.41 or $3.20, $1.41 and 83 cents over 3 years. Yeah. So at the end of this 3-year deal, the school bus drivers are making $37.50 an hour.
Nice
for a part-time school bus driver. So,
Yeah.
they're all important.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You got 2-3 members in your group to 2,000 members in your group. They're all important, and they all set a precedence for the next contract, no matter what it is.
And he's right. We strive, whether you're 15 in the bargaining unit or you're in a group like Albertsons where you have 2,000 members. We take just as much, just as much attention and take just as much effort to get you a good contract. I mean, some of these smaller, like you said, our GKNs who build the cockpits for the fighter jets, our window airplanes, our school bus drivers, all these accounts we take just as serious. I mean, look at GKN. I mean, they asked for the Monday after Super Bowl off, and never did we think we would get it, but that was important to them. And we got, and you know what, I'll tell you right now,
Super Bowl Monday,
Super
a
Bowl
holiday
Monday
in your contract.
is a holiday in your contract. You know what I mean? That is
Shout out to GKN, you lucky motherfuckers.
yeah. I mean, huge. And I can guarantee you, even though the managers had to look like, how dare the Teamsters ask, as soon as they agreed to that, they turned off the camera and said, we got Monday off too? Like, good, I mean, they're cheering the Teamsters on too, I mean, so.
Yeah, the leverage on that point was then nobody comes to work anyway.
Yeah, they're like,
might as well give them
they
a
might as well,
holiday.
but that, Bimbo Bakery, the bread, coming up,
that's another one.
Bimbo Bakers, Stremic Heritage Dairy, we take all of them serious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hope the members out there from those yards never think that they're kind of a Joe Schmo count. No, we take just as much, pride in getting them a great contract than everybody else. You know what I mean? So, either way, like I said, yeah, it is a process to bargain a contract. But really, again, I think it comes down to our members need to trust what we're doing. You know what I mean? They need to trust that we're sending them down the right road. And if every second, every moment of the day, you're looking over your shoulder saying, what is my union doing to me? What is my union doing to me? You're just saying you're never going to be part of the solution. You're always going to be part of the problem. You know what I mean?
I agree.
But the great thing about it is when it comes down to it, and if you come to the general membership meetings, ratifications meeting, we always throw the same thing out there. But you are the membership. You control what comes out in that contract, right? And that's what. It's not that Eric and I are going to go into negotiations and we're going to get you this. We go into negotiations trying to squeeze every drop of blood out of that turnip.
Of course.
And ultimately, when we get to the point that they're not giving in anymore, just like, for the example in the last CVS contract, and anybody that was in those negotiations know that when we got to the top dollar that they were willing to give, we had them go back and ask the upper management for more 5 or 6 times, right? And then it comes back, no. Well, at that point, you're where you're going to be at with them. Then we go to the membership and say, hey, this is what they put out there, but ultimately you decide, right?
Yeah, and I think people forget that there's a ratification vote. It's not
There
you have your negotiators, and if you feel like, if the majority of the membership feels like, hey, I'm not working for that, you fucking vote it. And I hear all these people, soft this and, soft negotiations and this. The majority of the membership votes this shit. It's not like you just get to say, hey, we're taking this contract now.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
you
like,
can
look at
recommend
UPS,
it. But
UPS was, just a little over a year ago was ratified by majority of the members.
yes.
Majority of the members across the country. And you still have a few people out there that want to say, oh, it's the shittiest contract we've ever had. Our members have the right to vote on it. And you can't come back and say, oh, well, you told me I had to vote. No, you were sent out the information. You have the ability to read it. We had meetings here at the local union where the information.
Explanation.
Yeah, explanation means it was given to you. You have the right to say, no, I don't want to. And because you couldn't muster up enough people to vote it down because it actually was a good contract, the world, you guys lied to us. No, it's like, what? Hey, so if 90% of the membership, and I don't remember exactly what it was that voted in, I think
Pretty close.
It was pretty close. So what you're saying is, not only am I saying that leadership is shitty for selling us out on this contract, but you're also telling the 90% of the people that voted, oh, hey, guess what? I think you're idiots, too. You're idiots too. Like, dude, that's democracy, man. It is what it is. Roll with the blows, you know what I mean? And hopefully next time around. But I mean, I mean, John can tell you'll have people out there shooting out, vote it down, or hey, if you vote, he'll tell you. People will say all the time,
every
vote it
contract
down.
here.
If you vote it down the first time, it's guaranteed you'll get more.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't have that mentality. If this gentleman sitting at the table along with your stewards have the belief in their head that if we vote it down, we will get more, we'll tell you that. If we look at it and we say, hey, guys, vote it down, you're going to be in the same square A. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It may throw your retro pay out the door. Ultimately, again, it's up to you to make that decision. And if you want to roll that way, we're going to roll with you 110%.
Yeah.
We're
We'll have your back.
Yeah, I'm going to have your back. But when you come to me and you're like, well, did we get retro pay? Well, no, I told you if you voted down the first time, they were going to pull the retro pay because some companies threaten that. Or, hey,
That takes all the TAs off the table.
yeah, you know what I mean? Or, hey, guess what? We got the same contract. What do we do? Well, I told you they didn't have no more money. I mean, you better not be mad at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because some guy wants to go out there and lie and tell you if you voted down the first time. But I mean, either way, I mean, again, the mentality is out there. Sometimes vote it down, and sometimes that mentality works. Sometimes it doesn't work. You know what I mean? But again, ultimately, it just comes down to your union does everything they can to make sure your life is better every single day and the day after. They do everything they can to protect your livelihoods at work. Do everything they can to protect your contract and to make sure that your contract is being followed so you get your protected rights. And if you can't stop and say, hey, man, this is what these guys do every day, day in, day out, more than people really know how much time we put in here, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, and you can't stop and say, hey, man, thanks. I trust you, dude. I'm behind you, dude. Then I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, you're not going to do it. But the number one thing to getting a contract is being, having some trust within each other and us having trust in our stewards too, because as much as we want them to trust us, I want to be able to trust my stewards. I want to be able to trust the people that are sitting at my table with me saying, hey, guess what? Dude, I can trust my steward. I know he'll go out and he'll gather people up and he'll give them the message that we need to get out there to make sure, rather than sometimes you tell people your business. And again, like I said, you tell them, and not more than 2 minutes later, it's up on Facebook about the plan that, hey, the team
super secret plan that we
had. The super secret plan from my informants, you know what I mean, are from, people.
From my leakers.
From my, my informants are my good connections, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you didn't get any good connections, bro. Like, dude, we already told everybody. But, I mean, like I said, it is what it is. But
I mean, I wish you guys would just kind of give Keith a moment to talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, got Eric.
I was just listening.
Well,
yeah.
Well, Keith, look, we like to do a little segment. It's your first time on. We like to do a little segment where we call it Get to Know You. So just a couple questions. It doesn't have to be crazy. Why don't you start off with your name, where you come from, what yard you come out of, how long you've been a Teamster?
My name is Keith Barton. I've been at CVS it'll be 18 years, the 26th of this month.
Nice.
And where did I come from?
What do you do at CVS?
Oh, I work in the clean-out dock where the trailers come back from the store, clean them out, get them ready to go out back again, get them loaded and get it out.
And then you've been trustee for how long?
About 4 years?
No, we're hitting
5
five.
5 years.
Five,
5
man.
years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Trustee.
So you've been a Teamster. Were you a Teamster prior? Did you have another Teamster job, or
No.
CVS was your first Teamster job?
CVS was my first Teamster job. And it's been a ride. It has its ups and its downs, but it's been really good. The last big turnaround.
And I mean, so you've been a little less time than I have, right? You've been here through the old administration, and
A little less than I do.
believe me, I've seen changes. I'm just curious, what change have you seen? I don't want to blow these guys' heads up more than they already are, but no, I mean, what changes have you seen within the...
Just big changes. I mean, as a steward, I have the leadership behind me, and knowing that they're going to be there behind me, it just makes things a lot better for me, because I'm able to, get people out of trouble or whatever it is, knowing that they're going to have my back at the end.
Yeah.
And that's not what we had before. I don't want to go back, but
Yeah, so I don't want to go back. So I don't want to think about that. It's a nightmare.
I know.
No,
different.
I agree with you.
It's a
Just
big
as a member, honestly, I have seen the difference. But not only that, like I see the difference within the support that I get as a business agent, you know, going out there to my yards and, you know, stuff happens and I'll call Eric and, hey, we need everybody down here, dude. The manager's going crazy or whatever. And next thing you know is, you know, 6 or 7 business agents and we're all, you know, wreaking havoc in the yard. It is what it is, man. But the support and just like the things that you guys have done has just been fucking phenomenal.
And Keith will tell you, you know what I mean? I'm cutting him off, but Keith will tell, I've known Keith for a while now, for quite some years. Me and him got to know each other over the years, and actually got to know him through years of me running against, you know, the leadership because I wanted things to be better, you know what I mean? And he was on board with that. He's actually been on my team for a while now, but, you know, I always remember telling the guys at CVS, like, you guys are going to be our first project because, I mean, CVS was just 900 members that had no clue what it was to be union, man. No clue what it was to be union. Had no clue what it was to file grievances. Had no clue what it was to have the power of the union and for the workers to run the workplace rather than management. And, you know, I mean, now I walk in there and I mean, these guys, you know, have it on lockdown. The stewards,
running the yard.
Dude, they I mean, and I know some people will take this out of context, but go ahead and do it. It's like a prison yard in there, man.
They got the keys to the yard, dude.
You know, they got the keys to the yard, man. You know, the watchmen just stay in their offices and our guys run the yard. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is. You know, that's the way it should be. You know, as long as the work's getting done, as long as the money, you know, the money's coming in for the company, they're making money. Who cares how you do it?
Take care of the employees.
Yeah, take care of our employees. Let our
thing.
people run the program, dude. And you know, and when they're not, then ask the union to step in and do something. But I mean, I'm happy with what's happened over there at CVS. You know what I mean? And Keith's been a huge part of that.
And I will say, look, guys, I know we're, you know, gonna wrap it up here pretty soon, but I wanted to say thank you. I know you said 5 minutes. I appreciate you staying for a little while.
Well, I wanted to tell another story. Story time.
You want to do story time?
Story time.
One more story.
George, story time. So, you know, I've been telling the story all week, and I'm not going to say who and where they came from, but, you know, I had a manager call me up this week, and he's like, you know, he called me up a couple times, and I didn't answer the phone because I knew he was trying to call me to get a hold of me because the BA had told me, hey, he's going to try calling you. And I said, okay, yeah, no problem. So I kind of shined him on for a couple days, and then so he calls me up on Monday. I finally answered the phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, can I talk to you, Eric? And I'm like, yeah, what's going on, man? And he goes, well, you know, this is happening, and, you know, I don't know if you guys are doing it on purpose, but, you know, and I'm like, I'll bring it out on the table. There's issues going on with your management, and you need to take care of it, and you failed to take care of it, and you're mistreating our stewards, and it's just not going to happen anymore. And then I said, you know, your best bet is to build a relationship with our local union, you know. And then he finally comes out and says, I just don't want to be removed like you've had other managers removed. And I looked and I said, well, that depends on how you get along with our stewards and our members and our business agent. And he goes, okay, well, yeah, because I know you guys get people moved all the time. and you know, I want to end up in Alaska. I'll be honest with you, and John will tell you, you know, that's not the relationship we want to have with our. The last thing I want to do is to have a confrontation with my management team constantly. But I will be honest with you, when you have a manager saying, please just don't get me moved to the union, that's power. That's them saying that, rather than our members saying, oh my God, they got a target on my back, this and that, I better clock in on time, I better do this. You got management saying, oh, dude, I got a Teamster target on my back, and I just don't want to be moved to Antarctica, like just no, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that good old Teamster.
I mean, that kind of sums us up and sums up, you know, what we do here. It's not like we want to have a bad relationship with management. That's not the point. We want to take care of our members. We want to make sure our members are getting, you know, fair treatment, fair wages, fair benefits. But if you want us to put on the helmet every day and go into battle, we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do that. And some managers have found out, some companies have found out, you know, we put their ass on the street and, you know, figure it out.
Yeah.
But we're here for the members. That's the point. We don't want to go on strike. We always say that when we go into negotiation, contract season, right? We don't want to go on strike. We want a fair contract. So that kind of sums us up. But like I said, I appreciate you guys sticking around for a little while, hanging out, giving us an update. We're back on live. Please RSVP for the December membership meeting for those 952 members out there listening. That's going to be a big one. It's our big one every year. We do a big raffle, right? I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. You know, me and John just had our executive board meeting, actually, with Keith. You know, we had our executive board meeting.
Here.
Yeah. Sorry, Keith. Sorry, Keith. No, I thought he was one of the producers. No, but Keith plays a big role in the executive board. I mean, we just had our meeting on Friday, and we motioned to have another great Christmas party. And I know, again, people are going to say, wow, look at they're spending lavish money on lavish. I'm spending lavish money on my lavish members. Yeah. They deserve their money back. And if I can give it to them back, me and John and Keith and the rest of the e-board can give back to them in a form of breakfast, raffles, and just having a good old day in the month of December when everybody should relax a little bit and come together, then that's what we're going to do. But yeah, we will have our Christmas meeting in December, raffles, food, pancakes, Santa, come join us, you know what I mean?
And Eric's going to play Santa this year.
No.
Yeah.
So, no. Hey, one more thing about Keith before we go is I want to give him props because he has stepped up and he has been put in the position to read the financials.
Oh, that's
and
right.
he's done a hell of a job. And I'm telling you, it's not an easy job. I've had to do it. Eric's had to do it, but at the end of the day, keeping track of the lines and what you're doing and doing it, and the poor guy, he had like 5 of them he would have had to read.
And John's right. It's no easy task.
Not an easy task.
Let's go back.
I would read numbers backwards for sure.
Go
I'm
back.
slightly dyslexic.
Yeah. No, you want to know? Come on, let's all go back to elementary school when you use the little blocks. You had like the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. You know what I mean? So there's times that it's 110,000, but I'll be 110,053. I'm like, oh no, dude, that's $110,536.26. You know what I mean? So it does, you know what I mean? And then the line, you think you have the paper under each line you're reading straight, but really, do you know it's like that? Yeah. So you're, oh man, it's but
he's all
you slide that one, and it's like income for dues $26.45.
Yeah,
that can't be right, right?
It's an optical illusion, you know what I mean? But no, he's doing a great job, man. Like I said, he stepped up and said he would take that position, and it was something that was recommended by the IBT, and it is. It's really transparency for, everybody knows that I deal with the money. That's my job, is to make sure the money that coming in and coming out is accounted for with, the oversight of John, but really it's the oversight of our trustees as members that come from the yard that say, hey, we're sitting with the leadership and we're verifying that that's the right amount of money, and we promise you, members, we're doing the right thing. And for Keith to get up there and do that, that's really what the message is to them is, hey, I'm standing up here. I'm out of the yard. I'm a trustee, and I'm telling you everything's correct. It's final, and, it's all legit, you know what I mean? So, yeah, hats off to Keith.
He's done a hell of a job.
Yeah, hats off.
Shout out to you, Keith. I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, your first time.
Thank you for inviting me.
You did pretty good. You weren't too nervous. You should have seen Eric the first time.
Oh, yeah. I was like this.
He was tweaking out over there, but
I was picking my boils. I was like,
but we appreciate all you guys. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
You've put together a great team. Thank you, E-Board, John, President. We appreciate you. Please like, share, subscribe on Instagram, OCST952. Follow us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate all that likes and follows and all that stuff. So please tune in and email us at oct.952@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, all that stuff. If you have any questions for Eric, John, myself, the E-Board, let us know, and we'll get them answered for you. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week.